Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And by the time that you're watching this video, I hope all of you out there are having a fantastic weekend. Coming up here on the show, going to open up the floor for a mailbag. We're taking questions from all of the real ones as members of the Niner gang who watch this show as San Francisco heads into this Week 7 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football. Speaking of that game, Niners-Falcons watch party will be live here on the show. We always get more than 100,000 people to join us live for our watch parties. It's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. We'll do a pregame show. We'll be live for the game, live for a postgame show as well. So experience it with us and join us. And in the process, let's get to 178,000 subscribers right here on the program. Let's begin here with this one coming in from Jeannie Wyatt. Will the Niners trade for Trey Hendrickson? Obviously, his name has been a popular name in these trade discussions for San Francisco, but really any team across the NFL looking for a pass rusher. And the Niners are going to have to compete and vie with other teams going into the deadline after Week 9 going into Week 10. A team like the Philadelphia Eagles is said to be interested in a player like Trey Hendrickson. And Howie Roseman always goes big game hunting. A team like the Indianapolis Colts has been lacking with their pass rush. And in a wide open AFC, with Daniel Jones playing well, Shane Steichen coaching his ass off, they have some other pieces in place on defense. They have some financial capital. Could they look to make a trade for a player like Trey Hendrickson? And his former defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, is currently the defensive coordinator with the Indianapolis Colts. And so any team looking for a pass rusher is looking at Hendrickson as the star to go after. And the Bengals' last-ditch effort in trying to save and salvage their season, trading for quarterback Joe Flacco, in a rare interdivision trade, they made that move going into Week 6. They then competed with the Green Bay Packers, but they've lost 4 games in a row after that 2-0 start. And if they continue to lose, it just doesn't make any sense for the Bengals to hold on to Hendrickson if they're not going to be able to make the playoffs. Now, the AFC North is wide open. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in firm control of that division. But I'm recording this show on Thursday Night Football, a big Steelers-Bengals game. If the Steelers win, it's like, what are you doing if you're Cincinnati? You didn't give Hendrickson a contract extension. He's going to walk most likely after this year. What if you can get back a first-round pick? Maybe a second or a third. I think a second and a third, a price that I'd be willing to pay if I'm the Niners and if they continue to win games and they think of themselves as playoff and Super Bowl contenders. But that is obviously the apple of my eye and a player who can continue to be a part of your core moving forward if you're San Francisco. Joe Carmack, always watching the show. Can the Niners get Jeffrey Simmons, Bradley Chubb, or Demario Davis? So obviously Jeffrey Simmons is a player on the one-win Titans who is one of the top interior defensive linemen in the game. But occasionally Tennessee will use him at defensive end. He kind of ripped the Titans' preparation, saying our week of practicing going into Week 6, the worst that it's been. And then what do the Titans do? They fire their coach in Brian Callahan. Now, I would love this move for San Francisco because he would greatly enhance your pass rush. We're talking about one of the most disruptive players in the National Football League from the interior of your defensive line, which would help you out in general trying to get to the quarterback. The thing that I think would turn the Niners away from a player like Jeffrey Simmons, the price tag. He's very expensive. He signed a contract extension a couple of years ago. And so while he's an all-pro player and a Pro Bowler who helps you, I think he might be too rich for the Niners' liking. But from a scheme standpoint, I like it. Bradley Chubb, I think, is more realistic because it's not going to cost as much to trade for him, and he has no more guaranteed money left on his deal. So you can hold on to him for the future, or you can get rid of him without a big financial cost. And then there's Demario Davis. If you want to bring in a veteran who's been an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler, who's still playing really well, is a good run defender, holds up well against the pass, and you don't have to give up that much as far as picks to bring him in, and he's on an expiring deal. If you don't want to be latched to him in the future, I think Demario Davis is a player who makes a lot of sense if you want to replace Fred Warner. What I think the Niners should do and will do, trade for a pass rusher that then helps out your linebacking core and your secondary, and then see what you get from some of your young backers, Tatum Bethune and Nick Martin. Nick Martin, I'm excited to watch him play. Brandon L., a $10 super chat. I will be cheering on the Niners to get the win. It's going to be tough, but I have faith. Love your channel. Watch you every time you post new updates. Go Niners. You want to talk about a real one? That's a real one right there. We're giving you Niners shows every single day year round. Appreciate that. And you know why they call this fan base the faithful? For guys like Brandon who still believe. And yeah, this matchup against Atlanta, going to be hard. Their offense is a high-octane unit with a bunch of weapons, and they can hurt you on the ground, through the air. Bijan Robinson, he's my offensive player of the year right now. On the ground, through the air, he has been dynamite this year. Drake London, a very difficult cover because he gives you, and I'm talking about Atlanta, he gives them wonderful size at the wide receiver spot, but playmaking ability. And then you have a player like Kyle Pitts, who hasn't lived up to expectations yet, but he's a matchup nightmare at the tight end spot because he can play that flex wide receiver role. And Michael Penix can really spin it. Dyson Terry Joe, another $10 super chat. Appreciate you, my man. How can the Niners stop these injuries year after year? Is it bad luck on plays, drafting injury-prone players, strength and conditioning, staff issues? It's heartbreaking to see year after year. It really is heartbreaking. I mean, there isn't a team across the NFL that has the amount of injuries at the clip that these injuries have been happening than the Niners. They're cursed. They really are cursed. And I don't know what it is. I don't think the Niners know what it is. Is it strength and conditioning? Maybe, but they changed their staff a couple of times under Kyle Shanahan. Is it practicing habits? That could have something to do with it. We know that Kyle Shanahan prefers a physical style, and that physical style is why the Niners have won a lot of games. But it's also been a reason, in my opinion, why they've had all these injuries. John Feliciano had joked that it's the facility nearby that might put something in the water to lead to all these injuries. I have no idea, but it can't continue, and it drives me crazy, and it's so unfortunate. And now if you're a player looking to come to the Niners, whether it's in free agency, through the draft, or you're getting traded there, you're probably like scared to go to San Francisco because you're like, I watch that team and players are dropping left and right like flies. I worry about my future as a player going to San Francisco, which stinks. So I think if there was an answer, the Niners would try to get to the root cause of it, but I have no idea why they have so many injuries. And some of these injuries are career altering. Nick Bosa ACL, Fred Warner's foot pointed the wrong direction. It just stinks. Some of it's soft tissue, and some of that is avoidable. I also think this is an NFL issue, right? None of these players are really doing much throughout training camp or in the preseason. So when the season comes around, I don't think their bodies are ready. Plus now you tack on another game. You're playing 17 of them. I don't know. I'm spitballing at this point, but it's dumbfounding. It's mystifying. It really is. Let's get to our sponsor for our mailbag, and then we'll start taking your questions. Prize Picks. Thank you so much to them for making today's 49ers Report possible. America's #1 fantasy sports app. Pick, predict, play. Download the app. Choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. All withdrawals, fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. We have a 2-pick power play for Sunday Night Football. Bijan Robinson, more than 80.5 receiving yards. Rushing yards, But Christian McCaffrey, more on the 54.5 receiving yards. I also like the new features from Prize Picks. It's the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, touchdowns, for instance. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend or a celebrity partner or just somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Jay Menino, with this one, trade Jawan Jennings for Kayvon Thibodeau and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles will fill a need, and Flanagan-Fowles knows our system. So, yeah, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is a player who's more of a special teamer. I know he knows the Niners defense, but he's not great if he's in coverage. Let's be real. He's also not great against the run. Now, you do bring up something that I think would be awesome. Jawan Jennings for Kayvon Thibodeau. And let's talk about that. The Giants need a wide receiver. The Niners need a pass rusher. The Giants have one of the worst wide receiver rooms in football because Malik Neighbors is out for the year. The Niners desperately need to enhance their pass rush. Jawan Jennings can help out rookie quarterback Jackson Dart and give them a legitimate weapon and give Jackson Dart a legitimate weapon. He also gives the Giants something they're trying to hang their hat on, and that's them being a physical, tough football team led by Dart, led by Cam Scadaboo, who I wanted the Niners to draft in the 2025 draft, and he's been awesome so far this year for New York. So obviously the Giants would miss Thibodeau, but aren't you trying to support the most important person in your organization, your quarterback? So I do think this is a trade that can help out both teams. And then you also think about the Giants, right? Thibodeau this year has played awesome, but at pass rusher, they also have Abdul Carter. They also have Brian Burns. Now, I don't think they'd want to part ways with Thibodeau because he's also under contract next year. And I think they want to make a move for a better wide receiver, like a Jalen Waddle or Chris Olave. And with Thibodeau, Burns, and Carter, it gives them an opportunity to line those players up over guards at the pass rusher spot. And we've seen them find a lot of success with that. We've seen the Niners do something similarly with their NASCAR package. So ultimately, I like this move. It helps out both teams. It fulfills needs for both teams. But I don't think the value, JJ for Thibodeau, is quite equal because I think Thibodeau is the better player, more impactful player at a more important spot. And I think the Giants, if they make a move for a wide receiver, want to bring in a better player than Jawan Jennings. And then lastly, of course, JJ is really injured. Ankle, ribs, shoulder. Let's get to this one from Zy TV. What is your opinion on taking a year to rebuild, get healthy, and return next year healthy and prepared? I totally get why this fan base might prefer that, right? But Trent Williams and George Kittle are highly priced players who are getting older. So too is Christian McCaffrey. And this NFC and NFC West is wide open. Like, can you sit here and say, going into week 7, X team is the best team in the NFL, or these two teams will meet and are favorites to play in the Super Bowl? I think the entire NFL landscape is questionable and wide open. And so the Niners are 4-2. You beat Atlanta. You're 5-2. I think you owe it to yourselves to make a move for a pass rusher. Now, am I going to break the bank? No. Am I going to make a move that makes sense for me, draft pick wise, financially? Yes. I think that's the smartest way to go about it. I also think this is underrated, and nobody really talks about this. How about getting this young team, some of your rookies, playoff experience? I think that's extremely valuable. And I'm kind of the thought, get in the dance and see what can happen. You might not make it to the Super Bowl, but playoff experience is valuable. And I would take this coaching staff against almost any other coaching staff across the NFL in a one-and-done game. We've also seen crazy things can happen in the playoffs. We've seen this Niners team be competitive every single week this year. So I'm not willing to punt on this year. There's too much meaning, game in and game out, to just punt. Plus, you've shown you can compete. And you got some offensive reinforcements coming back. George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk. I'm trying to make a move to improve the team for now and in the future. Joe Carmack, what is up with Jacob Cowing? Injured his hamstring, came back, injured his hamstring again. And when that happens for a quick, twitchy player with speed, That's really going to cost you. And so hasn't been able to come back off that hamstring. Jordan Watkins hasn't been able to come back off that calf. It's unfortunate because I was excited to see players like Watkins and Cowan, but haven't been able to get healthy. Travis M., wishing Fred Warner a speedy recovery. Is this the same ankle that he played through last year? I'd have to look that up. Let me see. I mean, it was a completely different ankle. He fractured his ankle last year, still played through it, and then dislocated his ankle this year. Let's see. Yes, it is the same ankle. It is the same ankle. And I don't think those things are tied together. Like, it was friendly fire, and he got rolled up on. I guess the concern is back-to-back injuries to that same ankle. But he also played the rest of the games last year and has missed one start in his career. So you want to talk about a durable player. He's been that. All right, who you got in this football game? ATL for Atlanta, SF for the 49ers. Thanks for getting those questions in. Is that it for the mailbag, or we can get one more? Okay. Appreciate you for watching the mailbag. Let us know who you got, and we'll see you for our watch party.